I wanted to talk to you about some MLB futures. We've been previewing some divisions here. One division we've yet to preview is the NL East. So let's start there with the defending World Series champion Atlanta Braves, who are favored at plus 140. The win total at 90.5. The Mets also at 90.5 plus 150. They made a lot of noise in the offseason. They brought in a lot of older players. Max Scherzer, I think he still has something left to offer. Starling Marte, Mark Canha, Eduardo Escobar. They were really busy in the offseason. The Phillies checking in at plus 380, 85.5 the win total here. And we got some long shots with Miami and Washington at 71.5. I'm happy for the Nats that they brought in Nelson Cruz. Maybe they had get some protection for Juan Soto, but I do believe it's going to be a long season, Chelsa, in Washington. Who do you like to win this division? What stands out to you?
Yeah, from a value standpoint, I think I'm going with the Braves. They're an excellent regular season team. And last year, I think it was the most surprising story that we saw in baseball just because they had so many starters hurt. They had so many injuries to their rotation, and they didn't really have their big name starters entering the World Series. But looking at this year, their top three guys, some of the best in the league, Max Fried, Charlie Morton, and Ian Anderson, more than capable of keeping this team afloat. And plus adding Matt Olson. I know it is a big hole in the lineup from a mentality standpoint, not having Freddie Freeman in there, but Matt Olson's pretty good too. And they have Ozzy Albies, Austin Riley, Marcell Ozuna. So it's still a stacked lineup and a team that I think is still pretty good. And I think at the second best odds, you get a little bit more plus money on them. I would love to take the Mets because on paper, they look like the best team in the division by far. But here's the thing. The Mets are going to Mets. We see it every single season. There is a 2-week stretch where something happens, where it's off the field, where it's some kind of clubhouse drama, where their owner is tweeting at somebody, and there's some kind of nonsense, and it derails the team for a little bit. So I just think the Mets are going to Met. I know that sounds stupid, but I think the way you play that is look at their win total. It is always way too high. Last year, I think it was 91 and a half games. They had 77 wins. I'm going to go under again because that number, 90 and a half, they have not hit this win total since 2006. And that includes the 2015 season where they won the division and made it all the way to the World Series. So no matter how stacked this roster looks, I think 9.5, I'm still playing the under just because they can still have a great season and not hit this number.
I agree, yeah. And producer Tino is sitting there rolling his eyes as a Mets fan, but when you say like the Mets are going to Mets, he's sitting Rest. He knows it. He just popped it up on the screen. He's sitting there saying, yes, that's right. At some moment, that will happen. And I do agree. I think from like a roster standpoint, if Scherzer and DeGrom can stay healthy and give them like just, I don't know, over 200, close to 200 innings.
Like we saw it last
That's the other
year.
thing. They give them no run support.
Ends of games wasted from Jacob DeGrom just because they could not scratch across any runs. This is a team that offensively was terrible last year, scored the fourth fewest runs in baseball last season. So I'm not sure if the lineup, has enough to get things going because I totally see this happening. Max Scherzer is going to throw a gem of a game and they'll lose 2-1. I totally see that happening.
You're going to be talking about it on your show. Tino and I are going to be talking about it on my show. The fact that we'll see Scherzer and DeGrom go through like a 6 to 8 start stretch where they have a .89 ERA, but they're got one win because the Mets
and Jacob
are
DeGrom
not giving them
isn't hitting this year.
Yeah,
because there's DH now. So Jacob DeGrom is probably not going to be scoring his own runs again.
And that's something that he certainly can do. So you're talking about maybe the Mets being overvalued, and I do agree. You gave the stats, only the 90 wins. I mean, even that season when they went to the World Series led by Dark Knight, they weren't a high-powered offensive squad, and they didn't hit that win total. I want to switch gears and talk about maybe the most competitive division in Major League Baseball, sticking in the East, but going over to the American League. You got the Yankees and the Jays. Everybody, Chelsea, wants to talk about the Blue Jays, and I get it. They're going to score a lot of runs. Plus 185 here to win the division. 92.5 the win total. I think the other New York team is a little overrated as well. This is a team that's always near the top. 90-plus wins. 91.5 seems a little high to me. It just always seems to be the Rays that people want to overlook, but the past 4 years, Chelsea, they have topped their win total over 100 wins last season. Even in their shortened season, 60 games, they won 40 of those games. Nobody picked them to win that division. They went to the World Series. I think there's value here with Tampa. Do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. This is straight up disrespectful to a team that has won the AL East the last 2 seasons. What are we doing here? You've got to give the Rays some credit. I get it. Toronto is super stacked. On paper, they look like they should probably win the World Series. But strictly from a value perspective, Tampa Bay at plus 300 to win the AL East, are you kidding me? This team finds 7-foot lefties that throw 102 on trees somewhere. And this is the best team, I think, in all of baseball at finding and developing young arms. When you're talking about a long season, this is not a 60-game sprint. This is a full season. You need a team with pitching depth, a team with a good farm system, a team that can go the depth of the season. So Tampa Bay, one of the best at doing that. It doesn't matter the name on the back of the jersey. And plus, talk about their offense. Everybody thinks of the pitching and the depth when you think of the Rays, but they scored the second most runs in baseball last year. So put some respect on their offense as well.
And Vegas doesn't want to do that. They don't want to. Even when we start talking about baseball in mid-June, mid-July, this is a team that sometimes I'm just guessing, but it's obviously going to be about the pitching matchup, Chelsea. But when the Yankees go in there, or when Toronto goes in there, or even the Red Sox, they could be home dogs. I've seen them multiple times be home dogs and still find a way to win. Another division that we haven't previewed yet on this show is the NL Central division. So we do have a board here with some of the odds. And Milwaukee is favored here, and the total is 88.5. St. Louis checks in second at plus 210. I really think it's kind of cool to see Albert Pujols go back. And one true last dance, Chelsea. I know the last dance in Green Bay with Rodgers and Adams, that was ludicrous. But with Adam Wainwright and Yadier Molina and Albert Pujols, one more go together as a trio in St. Louis is pretty cool. Some big-time long shots in this division. Do you feel like this is Milwaukee's division to lose, though?
I think so. And especially we talk about pitching depth. I think Milwaukee has top to bottom probably one of the best staffs in all of baseball. Looking at all 3 of their top line starters, Brandon Woodruff, Corbin Burns led the league in ERA last season, and Freddie Peralta strikes out a ton of guys. I think the hot stretch we saw from St. Louis at the final weeks of the season, I think a lot of people are going to see that and say, hey, maybe the Cardinals give Milwaukee a run for their money. But looking at some of those games, I don't think those are repeatable results because they were getting great starts from the old guys, John Lester and J.A. Happ. John Lester's retired. I'm not even sure if J.A. Happ's on the team anymore either, but they were getting great starts from guys who they were older. It was not a repeatable result. And Adam Wainwright, I want to believe that he has another great season, but he's over 40 now. Yeah. So I think it's not repeatable for the Cardinals. I think top to bottom, the Brewers have the much better staff. They do need to find a way to score some runs. I will say that. But their closing staff also one of the best in the big leagues. Josh Hader converting on 34 of 35 saves last year. My goodness. And if Devin Williams doesn't punch a wall this year, I think they have this division on lock.
Yeah, keep it cool, Williams, right? I agree there for sure. He kind of screwed them last year with that punch. I love the rotation with Burns. And then you mentioned Woodruff in there and Peralta, who just kind of found his game last year as one of the best strikeout pitchers in all of baseball. It's a great 1, 2, 3. The bullpen is great. The defense is phenomenal too. That's the offense, of course, but when you got pitching like that, it can keep you in most ball games, and you have the defense behind those pitchers, it can keep you in most ball games. I love the addition of Hunter Renfroe too. I thought he did a lot of great things with the Red Sox last year. He's got some pop in his bat, so maybe a few more runs that way as well. Chelsea, you're fantastic. We have a board here with some other picks that you liked, so maybe on the way out. Nobody loves an under, but we gave this one on the show yesterday, so I would love to hear your thoughts. I think I know them, but just in case anybody missed the show yesterday, why are you in on the A's under 69.5 wins? Is it because they traded everybody?
Yeah, nobody has committed to not being competitive like the A's. Like, it's almost embarrassing. They spent $0 in free agency, and they traded away their 3 best players, Matt Chapman, Matt Olson, Mark Canha, 3 of their top 4 hitters when it comes to run production. Those 3 combined for 83 home runs and 244 runs batted in. 35% of the entire team's run production. Chris Bassett also gone. And there's also some rumblings that they still might trade Sean Manaea or Frankie Montas or both. So when you see this, teams committed to not winning, think about it. Midseason, if they're not winning games and they're playing in a tough division, they're even going to trade even more players away. So I think they're committed to, this season being a bust. I will take the under on the A's win total.
Totally in agreement. And I do believe they will trade one of those pitchers, if not both. Maybe Sean Manaea. I know his name has been out there in certain rumors. Plus, the division is a little bit more competitive. The other teams, right? You feel like the Angels, if they can stay healthy, and Trout is hanging around, and Rendon is hanging around, Syndergaard can give them something. Seattle's on the rise. Texas spent all that money as well. So I'm totally in agreement on the under when it comes to Oakland. I know not a lot of people like unders, Chelsa. You have to wait a long time to get that money, but I do believe we will see the Oakland A's as one of the worst teams in all of baseball.